Are live. All right, everybody. We're live, having fun. Yes, sir. We're live on YouTube, on TikTok. I have to be all energy answering NFL questions all night. What say you? Who do you think goes number one? Will it be Cam Ward? That's what the consensus is. Cam Ward going first. Then the consensus is Travis Hunter and Cleveland going number two, or Cleveland picking Travis Hunter with the second overall pick. Now, USA Today has sort of a curveball here compared to what we were looking at yesterday from Mel Kiper. I don't know why I'm listening to two things, talking and listening. USA Today put out their mock draft today, or their latest mock draft, because everybody has about 17 mock drafts. They put out their latest mock draft, and they have Shedeur Sanders going third. Let me just check the date here. Yep, published today, April 9th, 6 o'clock. So USA Today is taking a spin from what we talked about last night. The general consensus is Cam Ward goes number one by Tennessee. Mel Kiper has it. A lot of experts have it. USA Today has that. And number two, Cleveland takes Travis Hunter, number two. A lot of experts have it. Mel Kiper has it. USA Today has it. Now, Mel Kiper picks or says that the Giants will pick Abdul Carter, number three. USA Today picked that the number three pick by the Giants will be Shedeur Sanders. So going against some conventional wisdom, some of the things that we were learning about from some of the experts, they're going completely against, and they're saying it will be Shedeur Sanders. Now, what does this mean for a team where I've seen number one, Mel Kiper was carrying on this notion that maybe New Orleans would pick Shedeur? Well, in the USA Today example, that will not be the case. I've also seen where possibly a team like Pittsburgh, who needs a quarterback and needs to sign Aaron Rodgers, might pick Shedeur if he's around later in the draft, like in the 20s kind of thing. So there is that possibility that Shedeur might go in the 20s, but right now USA Today is predicting that Shedeur will go number three overall, which is against a lot of what I was seeing yesterday and against Mel Kiper's prediction. Now, let's all remember that predictions are just that, just predictions. They normally don't make it out to daylight. Maybe they'll get 6 of the first 10 correct. Now, in USA Today, they have the New England Patriots picking Abdul Carter. We know that Carter is high on their list, and there was one mock draft that I saw yesterday that said if Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are no longer available at number 4, that the Patriots could trade that pick. What's interesting about that, in the mock draft that I saw, it showed the Dallas Cowboys trading up to get the Patriots number 4 spots and actually select Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. So while all of this is just speculation, we'll have to see how it plays out. We heard rumors that Shedeur was moving down in the draft, not moving up over the last week. USA Today has him number 3, back in sort of the friendly confines of where he was earlier last week. So nobody really knows. It's all speculative, and it's all going in a direction that probably, the first 2 picks remain the same, with Cam Ward from Miami going number 1 to Tennessee, and Travis Hunter going number 2 with Cleveland. And the big question there out of those two, obviously, is will Travis Hunter be a wide receiver, a cornerback, or a combination of both? I think that he might be a combination of both. He seems like the type of person that would want that in his life, but we shall see. Now, USA Today, let's just see here. They have at number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars picking Mason Graham, which I think almost everybody has picked. So right now, the only difference, USA Today, 1, 2, they're up with Mel Kiper. 3, they're off. 4, they're off because Abdul was picked higher in Mel Kiper's predictions. And then we have Jacksonville at number 5 picking Mason Graham. Everybody has that. At number 6, USA Today, and probably rightfully so, picks or says that or predicts that the Las Vegas Raiders will pick Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. While Mel Kiper at number 6 has the Raiders picking Jahdae Barron. All right. At number 7, we still have from Mizzou, the Jets picking Armand Membou. So that's no difference there. So we have a lot of the same. Okay. Now this is, hold on one second. I'm just looking this up. Boom, boom, boom. Yep, everybody has him going to Mizzou. Now, Kiper at 8 has Jalen Walker from Georgia going to Carolina, which is the same. New Orleans now at number 9, according to USA Today, picks Tyler Warren, and New Orleans in Mel Kiper picks Shedeur Sanders. At number 10, Kiper says Tyler Warren goes to the Bears. Obviously, he's already been picked. Wait, has he been picked? Am I getting confused? Yeah, he hasn't been picked yet. Chicago Bears pick Will Campbell, offensive tackle. Now, they've done a lot of retooling with their offensive line, so I don't know, USA Today, if they're actually going to go with Will Campbell, the offensive tackle. I really don't know if they will be going in that direction. Pizza, pizza, pizza. Life with Elena just kept saying pizza to me here on YouTube. Well, pizza to you. Okay, bye. I really don't. People have a lot of time to waste on the internet. Remember, everybody, if you are or not following me on TikTok or subscribing on YouTube, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. Definitely hit that like button. I'm hoping that we'll get a barrage of people here in the next few minutes. But right now, the general consensus is, and it almost seems like it's one of those drafts where if the Tennessee Titans wanted to start negotiations or even sign Cam Ward before the 2 weeks, before the draft, they can almost do that. But it is a fait accompli, as they say, that Titans will pick Cam Ward number 1 overall. Everybody's predicting it. And in those scenarios, I'm just going to go with majority rules. Now, at number 2, a change over last week, as I said yesterday, is that the Cleveland Browns will be selecting Travis Hunter number 2, but that seems to be across the board. That's a consensus with a lot of experts, a lot of people putting their mock drafts together. Insiders on the know are saying that Travis Hunter, yes, will be the number 2 pick. Where we begin to differentiate, at least as of tonight. Now, a lot of people were picking just a day ago that Abdul Carter would be number 3 by the Giants. USA Today, in their mock draft from today, is saying that Shedeur Sanders, believe it or not, will be the number 3 pick. So last week, Shedeur Sanders was going to be the number 3 pick. This week, we saw him drop down to 9 with Mel Kiper. We saw him in the 20s with some other polls, with some other mock drafts. So right now, USA Today is picking him number 3. So has anything changed? Has he worked out for somebody and we don't know it? No, none of that has taken place. What has taken place is the fact that people, I think, like Shedeur Sanders, they know that he'll probably be a quality starter in the NFL. I'm hearing all these things that he has a really good work ethic, which is so important in the NFL because, you know, you don't have to look far back, but there's a lot of busts in the NFL, especially in the quarterback ranks. So, and there's an importance on quarterbacks, and there's a lot of busts in quarterbacks, especially in the first round. I mean, the name that always comes to my head, and this is an easy one, is Ryan Leaf, but there's so many more that have when it comes to quarterbacks. So, but USA Today now jumping Shedeur Sanders back up to number 3. The Patriots then, if Shedeur Sanders is picked at number 3, that means that the number 4 pick, New England Patriots, will have the opportunity to get one of their guys, and that's Abdul Carter. The theory was that Abdul Carter would go number 3, Travis Hunter would go 2, Cam Ward would go 1, and New England wants Travis Hunter. They want Abdul Carter, and that they might be willing to trade that pick to someone like Dallas, so Dallas could pick a running back, say Ashton Jeanty. But if Shedeur goes number 3, that means the Patriots will be able to get Abdul Carter, someone that they have their sights set on. All right. Now, it also, one of the consensus picks here is Mason Graham from Michigan at number 5. Everyone's basically saying that Jacksonville will pick Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan. Now, here's where there's a lot of differences in the mock drafts. It's the number 6 pick. At number 6, the Raiders have the pick. All right. Now, in these 2 polls, they both pick Ashton Jeanty, the Mel Kiper and USA Today. But I've seen tight ends. I've seen all kinds of different people here at number 6 in these mock drafts. Now, we do have to remember that Pete Carroll is the new coach, although he's an old coach. I'm not making fun of age. I'm just saying, he's like in his 70s, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. He's probably very capable. But let's just look at some of his offenses, and you don't have to dig too deep to know that he is, that the running back is very important with his teams, whether it was Seattle or USC. He had Reggie Bush at USC. He had Beast Mode at Seattle. So someone like Ashton Jeanty, who's probably right now the clear favorite for the running back spot in the NFL draft in the next coming weeks, he gets picked. Now I have to tell you that Hampton, I don't know. Hampton's a bigger guy. He's fast. He's bigger. Jeanty is a little bit smaller. Hampton, in my mind, could be much better than Jeanty as a running back. I like Jeanty. I like him a lot. But if you look at the numbers, the 40 he runs, the weight that he is, Hampton really could put up some good numbers in the NFL. Now, at number 7, almost everybody has this as a consensus. From the New York Jets, they're going to pick Armand Mimbu from Missouri, offensive tackle. So I'm seeing that across the board. At number 8, Carolina Panthers, I'm seeing a lot of Jalen Walker, the linebacker from Georgia. Not a surprise there. Now, at number 9, Mel Kiper had Shedeur Sanders, but in USA Today's poll that came out today, USA Today, I hate saying that. I always wish they changed their name, but okay, we all know it, so they're not going to. They have the Saints picking Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, who's probably the best tight end in the draft. They have him going 9 there. Now, let me just see if they have what they say about it. No clear direction for Kellen Moore to take things in year 1. Warren could at least somewhat solve that, as a versatile threat, could do plenty of heavy lifting for the Saints' uneven receiving core. Really, what it comes down to is Kellen Moore, in his first year as the coach of New Orleans Saints, probably knows that having a tight end, having a really good tight end, having a Brock Bowers type tight end, or someone who's a difference maker. Hey, Beto, hey, thanks for coming on board. Sideline Fans moderators here. Nathaniel, thank you for being on. Beto, thank you for being on. This is awesome. Love the book. Yes. And you guys, okay, so here's the deal. And I know Amanda bought a book, Beto bought a book, and Nathaniel bought a book. I'm going to have to send you a book, and I'll autograph it, because I've technically changed the name of the book. In my angst to make little tweaks here or there, I changed the name of the book to Let's Effing Go, Rule Your Fantasy Football League. So I will be buying some books and giving them out as prizes to fans. I'll be giving them out to you guys. Hold on one second, Nathaniel. So I did change the name because, and it's F***CKING. It's Let's Effing Go. rule, because my book, if you looked at what they had on Amazon, my book had everybody said dominate your league, and I was just kind of buried. So yeah, oh, you like the name? Good. Yeah, and I'll get you. Yeah, LFG baby. That's what I was thinking. You know, I mean, like seriously, other books on Amazon all said dominate your fantasy league, dominate. I'm like enough already. So what Amazon made me do, and I didn't really love this. What Amazon made me do is I couldn't change the title of the paperback or the Kindle book. I had to essentially take those down and repost the book. So what sucks about it is all your reviews are gone. Now, if there's a way that you can go in and put a review in, even though you haven't bought the book, I would love it. But all the reviews are gone. So I'm kind of sad about that. You guys had great reviews, but changing the name they literally made me take down the book and I had to repost it. So, all right. Who's got questions on the draft? I mean, look, I'm not really going to speculate too much. Like, I'm not going to necessarily get down to the weeds and come up with a mock draft myself. I think a lot of the information that's going around now, I think a lot of solid picks. To me, the solid picks are always the defense. Yes, Nathaniel, I'll let you on now. I think the solid picks are always like defense. I think Travis Hunter is a solid pick at number 2. I think having someone like Abdul Carter is a solid pick. Outside linebacker, offensive tackles, defensive tackles, those are all solid folks. What's up, Nathaniel?
Hey, what's up?
Okay, I'm just turning you up so we can hear you all over. All right, so who do you think goes number 1 then, Nathaniel? Anybody else have any? Well, I do think it'll be Cam Ward. And the only reason why I'm saying this is, I mean, you can make the argument that Travis Hunter is the best player out there. Okay. He won the Heisman. He plays 2 positions. He is just phenomenal. He's a superhero. Cam Ward, though, we put a lot of importance in the quarterbacks. So why not Cam Ward? Everyone believes he's the best quarterback in the draft. So yeah, we'll put him number 1. Travis Hunter going number 2 makes a lot of sense to me. Then it really begins to break down. The one thing I'll say about the Giants, if the Giants at number 3, now in a couple drafts, I see Abdul Carter going number 3. In a couple other drafts, I just saw on USA Today, as I keep talking about and repeating myself, but Shedeur Sanders goes number 3. Let's see, Browns might get Hunter and Milroe. Okay. Yeah, Milroe is he's sort of a sleeper in that late first round, early second round. Yeah, I've heard that. So if Shedeur goes number 3 at the Giants, I don't really understand what's going on with the Giants. They almost have too many quarterbacks, because then they'll have Shedeur Sanders, they'll have Jameis Winston, they'll have Russell Wilson, and they still have DeVito, which, he started games last year. So it's almost like they have too many backups. It's like they picked the C team to field the entire team, and they didn't pick up one A team player, So I don't know. I do see where they will need them, and what they could do is, maybe dump a Jameis Winston or a DeVito, or, find a trade partner with Russell Wilson, maybe with the Browns, maybe. Who did the Browns pick somebody up though, didn't they? And I heard talks earlier in the week, and Beto, you might know this. Weren't the Browns talking about getting the quarterback from the Falcons? I keep wanting to say Christian Kirk. It's not him, but let me just see here.
Penix?
Not Penix, the guy that started all the Cousins, Kirk Cousins. Yeah. So, it's just one of those things where, where's the depth charts here? Yeah. So, who do I have winning the Masters? You're going all over. I'll just take Rory because he needs to win the career Grand Slam, but
not like Schauffele.
No. They have Kenny Pickett. They still have Deshaun Watson on their. I just think that I think Cleveland needs a quarterback, and they either need to go for Cousins or they need to make a trade or something like, Milrow, something like that. They need a quarterback. Now my thought is maybe Pickett doesn't start if they get Milrow. What's that?
Any chance of them getting Aaron Rodgers?
I don't know. I mean, I think
I don't think Rodgers.
I think Rodgers wants to go to a team where he can win and get to the playoffs, and that's why it's stuck on Pittsburgh. But I got to tell you, he's waiting so long. I can't imagine that he really wants to play. That's what I've been thinking since like the first week of him, giving Pittsburgh sort of the on again, off again stuff. Just that he's probably going to retire. But Cleveland needs a quarterback. Now, they can say what they want about Kenny Pickett, but is he your everyday quarterback? You need a quarterback of the future. Is it Milrow? And my surprise kind of is they're not going for Shedeur Sanders. All of these polls and these people talk to them are saying that, they're going to get Travis Hunter. Now, here's the one thing I'll say is in the back of my head when I was on live last night, Roger needs to retire. He does this every year. He's driving me crazy, Beto. He's driving me crazy. He's so not fun with this stuff. But when it comes to Travis Hunter and the Browns, do you think? Oh, Carolina Tommy wants to join. We'll bring him on. My in the back of my head, someplace I'm thinking to myself, what if the Browns trade up and get Shedeur and Travis Hunter? Like, what if they go, what if Shedeur is still sitting around, I don't know, in the 20s and they pick him up? Hey, what's up, Carolina, Tommy?
What's up, yo? I'm a Panthers content creator. I love my Panthers.
All right.
I honestly think in the draft we should take Jalen Walker. Who are you a fan of?
Wait, Jalen Walker, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's who they're gonna get. I mean, everybody's saying that. And look, Carolina needs a lot of things. I actually think that Bryce Young's going to have a good year. If you look at what he did the second half of the season, he's going to have a good year. Now, some people could say, Thielen, I think, is 35. What are you going to do with Thielen? And as Beto here on TikTok says, Panthers drafting Ted McMillan. Yeah, they'll probably draft him. Now, are they going to draft him in round 1? It looks like Jalen Walker, but I do think they will in the second round or whenever their next pick is. I think it's just the second round. I looked this up before. 57, that they will go with a wide receiver, because you can't rely on Thielen and you'll get, let's just see here.
I have us taking Alexander Monter in the second round.
What's that?
I have us taking Alexander Monter in the second round.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, because I don't know exactly who's going to be around by then. I mean, let's face it, it's the draft. If you're 30% right, you're doing pretty good. The NFL draft is a lot like Major League Baseball. If you bet about 300, you're doing pretty good in it because you're never going to bat 1,000 in it. You can't. There is absolutely no way. I think. Go ahead. Yeah, I think you're really. Yeah, I think Carolina goes offense in the second round, and that makes a lot of sense. So, and if you think about it, now they have 2 running backs. So they could really have a really like beast backfield with Rico Dowdle did really well with the Cowboys last year. And even before they started, put him as the starter, even weeks before that, I was saying to everybody they should put him as the starter. He had some good games even before that. So I'm really hopeful that with Chuba and Rico, they can kind of, pull off a Detroit thing there, or kind of like what was going on with Tampa Bay. They actually had a 3-headed monster, but, I think that's a different look, and you keep your running back fresh that way. And I like that aspect. And I guess the thing about it is nowadays running backs don't make nearly as much money as wide receivers. I mean, the money that Saquon Barkley gets compared to wide receivers is nothing. And he was the star of that team last year. So, yeah, I think the Panthers will be much improved. I think working on their defense will help them out. They had a bad defense last year, and just any upgrades they can make in the offseason here will help them overall. So, And I do think Bryce Young will be, we will see him in a different light this year. He was kind of a bust the first 3 or 4 weeks. Then they held him out for a while, and then they put him back in, and he did really well. And I think that's what he'll do here in year 2. I think he'll be very solid. I'm not saying he's going to put up Jaden Daniels numbers, but I think that he'll be, looked at as we should have looked at him, better than he performed the first 3 or 4 games last season. Somewhere, like Jordan Love-ish kind of, where he's a really solid quarterback. Maybe he, has some weird losses or bad throws, but he'll continue to improve. So anybody else on Carolina that you think they need an upgrade, or anything that you like, or any breakout players you think for this year? Hold on, Nathaniel. Go ahead, Carolina.
I think Leggette's going to have a really good year.
Okay. Yep.
And we need a tight end.
Okay. Oh, that's a very good point. Okay. Yeah. And they're
Saturday that's never played football ever since 8th grade.
yeah. Well, and it's a pretty good class of tight ends. So, they might be able to pick somebody up like in the 3rd round who they can actually play on a regular basis. So, Nathaniel.
We got rid of Ian Thomas.
Oh,
Good.
yeah. And have you guys besides Rico Dottle, have you made any other big moves?
I would say it's safety when we got Trayvon Mobrick.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
Getting all those D linemen was pretty good. And Milton Williams got a pick on us.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Improving the defense will help the team overall, number 1. Number 2, the more balanced the team is, meaning, the offense is pretty good, the defense wasn't so good, and the defense starts getting better, they're going to be a tough customer for a lot of teams next year. And as far as I'm concerned, the NFC South is somewhat wide open. I'm not sold that Tampa Bay is going to have the exact same year. I do like Baker Mayfield, but and I don't know if Beto is still around, but I know he has Baker Mayfield on his team. I had Baker Mayfield on a lot of my teams. I don't know how long he can keep it up. He hasn't always played that well. My hope is that he does, but they're 1 injury away from maybe, everything going south. And the other thing about it is they can't stay with having a 3-headed monster with the running back. So things have to change after this year, with free agency and trades and all of that. So I think the NFC South could be there for Carolina to take. Now, I don't necessarily think it's going to be this year, but I do think maybe in a year or 2, Carolina will be competing for that number 1 spot. And who knows, maybe they get a wild card. Yeah.
2nd place is where we're going to finish.
Yeah. And well, then you're in the wild card hunt, hopefully. So, I mean, hey, that's fun. You get a wild card spot. It makes all those late games in the season a lot more fun to watch. And, you're watching the team, and you're watching every little thing they do. So wait, Mark Badger 117 says, the Steelers are going to go after Skidaboo in the 3rd round. Let's see. You know what? They probably will. A lot of what I'm seeing, obviously, are in the first 2 rounds. But, it's going to be, I guess what I'm saying is when you start getting into like the 2nd and 3rd rounds and the picks, one of my fears is from an offensive standpoint is, will these players make an impact next year? And when you get to those later rounds, the 3rd, the 4th round and things like that, I see them oftentimes as the backup or the 4th out of the top 3 or the 5th out of the top 4 receivers or anything, maybe the number 2 or number 3 tight end, the number 2 or number 3 quarterback, even from an offensive standpoint. Because remember, I'm always looking at sort of the fantasy points in my head, because I deal with fantasy here on both channels, YouTube and TikTok. So I do think that, I think the Steelers have bigger issues right now, though, Mark. I really think they have to fish or cut bait with Rodgers. It's beginning to look ridiculous. And then the other thing that scares me about the Steelers, no matter what they do, is in my head they have, their wide receivers are, they have a little bit of a hothead at receiver, and will he be able to play with DK? Will he be able to keep those things up? I don't know. And that's the thing that worries me about Pittsburgh. And they did not look good their last few games last year. So, all right. You guys got anything else? Carolina, you got anything overall about the NFL you want to talk about? Any thoughts?
Next year, I have to win it.
Yeah.
The Bengals win next year.
You got who?
The Bengals.
Wow. So I'm kind of partial to the Bengals. I try to stay pretty neutral, but I do have a soft spot for the Bengals. I like their quarterback. I like their wide receivers. I like the running back that they sort of dug out of. Chase Brown wasn't supposed to be Chase Brown last year. So, I do like the Bengals a lot. Now, defensively, they do worry me a little bit. And what they do with some of their defensive players worries me, but
They still haven't paid attention.
yeah, so that's a little worrisome. I don't know what they're holding out for, but maybe they're trying to make a trade or move up. But with DK Metcalf and George Pickens with Pittsburgh, I just think that Pickens might be a little bit. He seems like he might be a little bit of a head case. So, but yeah, I think
I saw something
yeah.
where the Panthers trade for Hendrickson, and the Bengals move to 17.
And who moves to 17? What?
We moved to 17.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got you.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because you can still get, well,
Wide receiver. Maybe.
yeah, exactly.
Or Mike Green from Marshall.
Yeah. Mark Badger says he's still not ready for primetime Bengals. Yeah, probably. But you got to remember, it wasn't that long ago that they were in the Super Bowl. It wasn't that long ago. Beto says the Bengals offense needs to score 97 a game. I completely agree. That's the one downside of it right now. Without defense, the Bengals need to score 97, and Joe Burrow's going to be throwing for 700 yards every game. Rudolph has a cannon of an arm. Let's not forget that. Well, he does have. Yeah, I mean, Rudolph does have a cannon of an arm, but I just think that the fans accuracy, and I think the fans are expecting more. I mean, look, I know that they've made the playoffs for some ridiculous number of years, 12 years, 17 years, whatever it is. They made the playoffs every year, but they haven't won a Super Bowl, in 12 years or 15 years or something like that. So after a while, fan bases, yes, they're used. What's that? Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Which team?
Pittsburgh. They made the Super Bowl. They made the playoffs like 12 years in a row, but they haven't won a Super Bowl like 15 years ago or something like that. And so the fan base, it's like anything else. I lived in Los Angeles 99 to 2004. And I was there when the Lakers won 3 in a row. But once they didn't win the championship, it was, when are they going to win the championship again? Like expectations are set at a certain level. And eventually, even if you're good and you make the playoffs, fan bases get a little tired of it. And I think that for the first time in a long time, I saw some cracks in, the way the media looked at the team overall, ownership, coaching, management, all of those kinds of things. Yeah. And
the Lakers had like a 7-year drought. They won that one.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mark Badger says, and the Steelers defense wins them half of those games. Yeah, they really do. I mean, their defense really keeps them in games. I still don't understand what the Steelers did with Najee Harris last year. I just don't think that they played him enough. I thought he was a better running back than the way they used him. He just didn't put up great numbers. Now, obviously, he's moved on, but what's that?
So I have a slate in the draft taking Kobe Bryant from Kansas, putting an RDB on our side JC.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Late in the rounds. But other than that, I'm going to get out of here, man.
All right. Thanks for joining, man. Anytime. Don't forget, everybody, to hit that follow button. All right. Thanks, Carolina. Appreciate it. All right. We got some comments here. Mark Badger says it's been 09 since last Steelers Super Bowl. Wow. 09, 16 years. Beto says bold prediction Bengals versus Ravens AFC Championship. Well, I got to tell you, I don't think the Ravens is a bold prediction, but the Bengals probably are, considering they were 9-8. The thing about the Bengals is if they start off even at 500 after 4 weeks, they make the playoffs. You know, if weren't they like 0-4 or 0-5 or 1-4, 1-5? If they just were 2-2 for the first 4 weeks, that would have changed everything about their season. They had to win like the last 5 games in a row to even get close to be in the conversation to make the playoffs. All right. Beto is saying Bengals versus Ravens AFC, Eagles versus Lions NFC. Yeah. The wild card in all this in the NFC to me is the Rams. Well, there's 2, I guess. The Rams, and will McCarthy be any good with the Vikings? Does McCarthy sort of take a Jaden Daniels approach, or season and, turn everything around with the Vikings? But the only thing I'll say, the Eagles, yeah. The Lions, I just don't trust Goff again. I think people at the end of last season figured out how to play Goff, and that's why he just imploded. That's my only thought about the Lions for next year. They're a great story. I want them to win. They were the laughing stock when I was growing up, but I could see Eagles Rams almost more than I can see the Lions, only because I just don't think Goff has all the tools anymore. I just don't think he does. Warren is better running back than Harris is. That's why Pittsburgh let him go. Yeah, well, apparently so. I still think they didn't use Najee as much as they could. They didn't give him the ball as much as they could. The Commanders, you're right, Beto. I was thinking the same thing. The Commanders, again, are a wild card. If Jaden Daniels puts up the same type of numbers and they made some additions to that team, they lost Zacchaeus, but they picked up, another wide receiver. Oh, boy. They picked up Burrow or Daniels MVP. Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah, Deebo Samuel. But the only thing about Deebo is he wasn't having very good years. So I don't know that Deebo Samuels was a true upgrade. I wasn't impressed with Deebo when he was healthy especially this past year, but over the last 2 years. Burrow or Daniels MVP, I can completely see that. I think, again, if Burrow starts the season 2-2, he's clearly an MVP candidate. If he starts the season 3-1, he's going to be, his last 5 or 6 weeks, he put up Hall of Fame, like beyond Hall of Fame numbers. He put up superstar numbers for that. What's up, Nathaniel? Are you sneezing? Warren yards per carry was a lot better in Pittsburgh than Harris.
Also, prime time Jamar Chase is unstoppable.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. Well, and
that was the funny thing with I think it was SpongeBob, that episode.
Yeah.
That you posted, like, imagine him in his underwear.
Yeah, exactly. Warren yards per carry. You're probably right, Mark. I guess what I'm saying is I was always surprised that they didn't play him more. But maybe you understand it much more clear than I do, that he just wasn't as good, and they found out that he wasn't as good as Warren, and that's why they were able to just let him go. Do or die time for Kyler Murray in Arizona. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Kyler Murray to me is, yeah, he needs to put up some winning numbers. Well, Carolina was number 1 in the NFC West for a period for a few weeks last year, and then they fell off the map. A bunch of losses. They had one of the best, maybe outside of Brock Bowers, who was just a rookie, obviously, but McBride, one of the best tight ends in all football. I think he just got a big paycheck, and good for him. But he has weapons. I will say, Mark, and maybe you might even look at this a little bit clearer than I do, but what is going on with Harrison Jr.? Is it Kyler Murray? Is it Harrison Jr.? Does he not run a good route? What's that?
MHJ.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, now I did look at his numbers, or maybe it was a story that I read. And the Cardinals getting Sweat was huge on defense. Oh yeah. Arizona wishes they drafted Neighbors instead. Oh, I'm sure they do. Yeah. Well, but I did look at Marvin Harrison Sr.'s first year compared to Junior's first year, and they were pretty comparable. So there could be a great upside. Now, I will tell you, when Peyton Manning is throwing you the ball, it's probably a lot easier to learn from a Peyton Manning than it is Kyler Murray. And it's not to take anything away from Kyler Murray. When he's on, he looks really good, but when he's off, he looks really bad. And Peyton Manning, even in his worst games, and I watched a lot of them. Even in his worst games, maybe he has a bad half, he would always come back in the third or fourth quarter. So, it was just something completely different. Chemistry with Harrison, Kyler was the problem. Yeah, Mark, I kind of saw it that way. His targets would be different on certain games. Other games, he would have 150 yards. The next game, he had like 32, and his targets were way off. And, he just wasn't consistent last year, as consistent as you'd like. And, rookie wide receivers, they're a tough breed, I think, in the NFL, because oftentimes they're not even starting, or if they are, they're not really good enough to be on a fantasy football team. He, though, was on everybody's team to start the season. I had him on like two of my teams, and I ended up dropping him because his numbers were unfortunately extraordinarily inconsistent and pedestrian. I don't think he got to 1,000 yards receiving. Cardinals rely on James. Yeah, I think he did like 3 of the first 4 weeks or 2 of the first 4 weeks. He put up some good numbers, or he had one, like week 1 was bad, but then week 2, he put up really good numbers. That gave everybody all the hope. And that's why everybody was thinking, but he was and then he was wildly inconsistent. And I think he got hurt for a game or 2, but there was a stretch of 3 or 4 games where he just wasn't putting up numbers. And Mark, you're right. The Cardinals rely on James Conner way too much. And, they run a lot of their offense through him, really, because, even McBride could have, more yards and things like that. So yeah, you're right about that. And the thing I don't understand though is Kyler Murray can use his legs, but it's just one of those things. They're not really a great managed team. Who's your breakout candidate this season? Dunze, Penix, May.
I would say May.
You say May. My son says May. I'm thinking Penix. I think Atlanta has weapons around them if they all can stay healthy. I think they got a great running back. I think he could be really the breakout. Dunze could. The Bears have to draft a running back or figure out what they're going to do with the running back to balance that offense a little bit more. I know in a couple of these mock drafts, they have him picking up the tight end Warren out of Michigan. That might help a little bit, but I really think that Penix, I know a lot of people really think highly of May, but I think Penix, if you look at what Atlanta was doing last year, they were in first place in the NFC South for a chunk of the year last year. I think you move a little bit more seasoned Penix in there, and he could lead them to toppling Tampa Bay next year. And back to Pittsburgh, have 2 big tight ends who are under you. Oh yeah. Freiermuth. Yeah. Freiermuth should be just dominating games, but he doesn't. I don't really understand their play calling overall. I mean, I'll be really honest with you. I don't understand. They're very defense oriented still, and it hasn't won them a championship since 2009. So that's my big concern. All right. Dunze is okay. Fantasy football trainer. Is that you? No, that's not you.
Really
yeah. Dunze. Was I saying Odunze? Dunze.
No, I think he's trying to mock how you were saying.
Oh, craziest mispronunciation I've heard in a minute. Fantasy football trainer. I got to tell you that I appreciate you being on the live stream today. I appreciate you pointing it out. And I got to tell you, what's that?
You have 10
Well, it doesn't even matter. I'm glad he's here. I'm glad he's calling me out. I appreciate it. I can butcher any single name that you give me. I'm a proud name mispronouncer. I do it on my videos. I do it on my live streams. And I do it now. It's almost like I don't even want to look it up and learn it. I just want people to correct me because I know they're paying attention. So love me, hate me. If you give me feedback, that means you're paying attention. So, all right, guys, I'm going to call it a night, but I will be back on at 8 p.m. Central tomorrow. Oh, thank you. And I'll be mispronouncing more names tomorrow night. So anyway, catch me tomorrow night starting at 8 p.m. to mispronounce more athletes' names. Woo! All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it. Nice seeing you, Beto. Nice seeing you, Nathaniel. Mark, nice seeing you. Fantasy football trainer, thank you.